now a detective.
A rookie detective.
As you keep reminding me.
Oh?
The crisp Denver air nips at my cheeks as I met with my sister for coffee. It was a week before Christmas. I recently moved here from Wisconsin, and I was still adjusting to my new life in this bustling city. My name is Tanya, and this is my love story. Back at the Denver Police Department, I was a rookie detective, a fact that Detective Ryan Anderson, my fellow veteran detective, never failed to remind me of. We're an odd pair, to say the least. We seem to disagree on just about everything. Then came the Christmas crime spree, a series of art heists all occurring at Christmas parties. The common denominator? Santa Claus. The same jolly old elf was spotted at every single party. Our first lead took us to the suspect's address. As we staked out the location, a delivery truck arrived, bearing a suspicious load of locksmith tools, and we noticed the house next door was for rent. Then Ryan and I were assigned as partners on the case. Even though we were like oil and water, we somehow had to make our partnership work. Ryan suggested a week-long stakeout. So we rented the house next door to the suspect. With me upstairs and him downstairs, that gave us the perfect vantage point to observe the suspect's activities. Later, I stepped outside to take a photo of the suspect's activities. Unbeknownst to me, Ryan, distracted by a phone call, accidentally locked the door behind me. Just then, a friendly neighbor approached, mistaking us for the newlyweds he'd heard about. Caught off guard, Ryan and I exchanged startled glances. Before I could even think, I found myself introducing him as my husband. And so our impromptu marriage began. Ryan was understandably upset about our blown cover, but I, ever the opportunist, saw a silver lining. We learned that Miller, our prime suspect, was in charge of the neighborhood's Christmas committee, so I suggested we join the committee, and that would give us the perfect opportunity to get close to Miller. Determined to secure a spot on Miller's Christmas committee, we took a trip to the local Christmas tree lot to get the perfect tree. Then we crafted a compelling backstory for ourselves, and finally, to solidify our newlywed personas, we purchased a pair of wedding bands. We got back home and started decorating the Christmas tree. We even went all out, stringing up lights and decorating the outside of the house. Just as we were finishing, Miller, our neighbor, stopped by. "Welcome to the neighborhood," he said, with a smile. Seizing the opportunity, I blurted out, "We'd love to get involved with the Christmas committee." Then Miller invited us to a potluck the following night. The next day, I surprised Ryan by making a cup of my grandma's special Christmas coffee. I could tell he appreciated the gesture. He was searching online for a gift for his 10-year-old niece. Later, I went Christmas shopping and returned with a pair of matching Christmas sweaters. Ryan hated them. Then, I made my way to the kitchen, where the enticing aroma of freshly baked gingerbread cookies filled the air. Ryan, it turned out, had been busy baking a batch from scratch. Later that evening, we headed to the potluck, Ryan begrudgingly wearing the Christmas sweater. To my surprise, the potluck was a blast. We met our eccentric neighbors, heard their hilarious Christmas stories, and even shared our own meet-cute and proposal stories, complete with exaggerated details and a healthy dose of embellishment. As we were about to leave, we found ourselves standing under a sprig of mistletoe. Suddenly, we were surrounded by our nosy neighbors, pressuring us to kiss. Caught completely off guard, we awkwardly leaned in, our lips barely brushing. We quickly retreated, both of us blushing furiously. That night, an unexpected connection began to blossom. As we spent more time together, we discovered surprising things about each other, and a genuine rapport started to form. The next day, we followed Miller into town, hoping to observe his routine. However, our mission was quickly sidetracked. I spotted a charming little stuffed toy and thought it was the perfect Christmas gift for Ryan's niece. By the time we emerged, Miller was nowhere to be found. Back at our stakeout house, Ryan, ever the chef, whipped up a batch of his family's secret Christmas eggnog recipe. We attempted to finish decorating the Christmas tree, but soon found ourselves more interested in playing with the tinsel than actually decorating. Then came the news. Another robbery was committed and the captain threatened to remove us from the case entirely. Later we joined the neighborhood Coworkers, a motley crew of enthusiastic singers. As we sang carols door to door, Ryan dropped his police badge. My heart leaped into my throat. I launched into an impromptu solo, completely distracting everyone from Ryan's predicament. Relieved, we grabbed some hot chocolate and warmed up at a nearby cafe. The next morning, we enjoyed Ryan's delicious gingerbread cookies, savoring the quiet moments before the day's activities began. Then, we were listening in on Miller's conversation with a man when we almost got caught. Later, we attended a neighborhood charades party at Miller's house. We played along, our competitive spirits surprisingly ignited. Afterward, we sat on the steps of the house, chatting about life, our families, our dreams. As we talked, it began to snow softly. It was a magical moment, a rare instance of peace and connection between us. The next night, we attended a lavish Christmas party undercover, disguised as elves and servers. We were hoping to catch Miller in the act of stealing a priceless Christmas ornament on loan from a museum. As the party raged on, Ryan asked me to dance. We talked about all the things we would miss about each other after the assignment ends. Then we had a moment that held the promise of something more. Suddenly, Santa Claus, Miller went missing. The lights flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. When the lights came back on, Santa was nowhere to be found. The ornament, however, remained untouched, but 2 priceless paintings were discovered missing. Later, our carefully constructed cover was blown. The captain issued us a search warrant for Miller's car and house. We found one of the paintings hidden in Miller's car, and he was promptly arrested. But after a thorough investigation, we discovered the real culprit, Sana's agent, and Miller was released from jail. To make amends, we helped the neighborhood organize a surprise welcome home party for Miller. The entire street turned out, bringing with them dishes of food. Then Ryan surprised me. He rented our fake house, the one we'd used for our stakeout, and invited me over to make some gingerbread cookies. I realized that maybe Ryan and I had found something special in our unconventional partnership. He leaned in, his eyes twinkling, and kissed me. It was a long-awaited kiss, filled with warmth and a promise of adventures to come.